Imagine a bottle of drinks that contain a whole day of sugar that you need to intake for a whole day. That will be really exaggerated and terrifying. In the article of the Sweet Text, the Jay Helton mentioned that the sugar is deeply connected with obesity, heart disease, and other health problems. And the article also mentioned that in 2022, 1 in 8 people will live with a high obesity. In addition, in the article called the Vietnam News Agency published in 2024, November 27, the article mentioned that an uncontrolled consumption of the sugar are deeply connected with the cardiovascular, heart disease, and obesity. So I think that sugar addiction and consumption of a sugary product is not a minor problem that can be ignored. It is about public health problems. So I think that sugar addiction is really harmful and sugar tax should be imported in our daily life. So today in my speech, I will mainly explain why the sugar addiction is harmful and why the sugar tax is important and necessary. So I'll mainly explain in 3 dimensions. I will first talk about the problems, and second, I will move on to the causes, and finally, I will move on to the solutions and how to deal with it. So first, let's start by talking about the problems. So there are 2 main problems that the sugar causes to people. Firstly, the sugar will cause serious health risks. Back to the main article of the Sweet Text, the author mentioned that the sugar products are deeply affect people's health and cause people get into obesity, heart disease, and other health problems. And the article also mentioned that the consumption of the sugary drinks will also lead to serious death in the worldwide. So which means that intake sugar is not just a personal habitat, it is a larger scale of a public health problem. And in the article of the sugary drinks fuel obesity and health risks, the article also mentioned that sugary drinks increased in Vietnam from 1.59 billion liters to 6.67 billion liters in Vietnam. That is a really serious increase of that. And the second problem that the sugar addiction bring to people is that the sugar addiction will not only affect the adult, but also will also make a huge impact on the younger generation. Also in the same Vietnam article, the author mentions that 42% of the Vietnam teenagers have the sugary drinks habit twice a week, and even 20% of them have the 2 cans drinks per setting. That is a really serious problem. That is because if those teenagers get used to drink those sugary products at their early age, they will get addicted to it and hard to stop, which will not only bring the current risks for them, but also will bring some serious health risks for their future life. So after talking about the problems, I want to move on to the causes. So there are 3 main causes why the sugar still stay in the market and hard to solve. So the first cause is that the sugary drinks are always easy to access and affordable for every consumer. In the main article of the Sweet Text, the Sweet Text role is to increase its price and force people to purchase other healthier products. However, because of the sugary drinks are always convenient and easy to purchase for everyone, every consumer will choose to purchase the sugary product by ignoring its risks for their health. So the second cause is about the sugar drinks is important for the low-income group. From an article from the CTV National News from September 1st, 2022, the article states that the sugar drinks tax is unfair for the low-income group. That is because those healthier products are always expensive and some consumer cannot afford it. I believe that if those healthier products are cheaper than the soda, I believe everyone would choose the healthier product instead of the Coca-Cola. So the final causes is that the industry influence. So the beverage and sugar industry have economic interest in keeping the sugary products popular in the market because it is really important for the sugar industry, because the sugar industry connects with the rural employment, the agriculture, and even the imported. So it is not a simple industry in the country. It is also connected with the local business, the local employment. So after talking about the problems and causes, I want to move on to the solution part. So I'll categorize the solution as 2 main parts. So the first is about a larger scale solution, which means what can the government and country do to reduce more sugar addiction. And second, I will move on to the personal part, which is like us, the consumer. What can consumer do in our daily life to reduce more sugar addiction? So first, I want to talk about the larger scale solution. So obviously, the sugar tax is the most practical and useful solution for the larger scale perspective. And that is because the sugar tax can firstly reduce people consumption on the sugary product through increasing the product's price. And secondly, the sugar tax can also encourage companies to reformulate their product with lower sugar content. So now I will use 4 examples to illustrate why the sugar tax is necessary and useful. So the first example is about Ireland. In the Daily Mirror from 2024, September 28, the article mentions that the sugar tax was introduced in 2018 in Ireland, and their goal is to lower the consumption of the sugary products and reformulate their content. So the data reflect that people take 6 kilograms per year sugar before the policy was taken. However, after the policy was taken, the data decreased to 3.8. And this shows that the sugar tax can really decrease the sugar intake. The second example is about Malaysia. From the Malaysia Online published in December 16, 2024, there are 242 beverage products be reformulated. That is because those companies want to lower their sugar content on the product in order to avoid paying higher tax. And this can also reflect that sugar tax can also boost companies to reformulate a healthier product into the market. And the third example is about the Arabian. In the Arabian Post from January 3, 2026, the United Arabian Emirates changed its consumption tax policy to a rider model, which means that they will collect tax based on the sugar content, which means if the product have higher sugar content, they have to pay higher tax. If the product have lower sugar content, they can pay lower tax. And finally, the final example is about in the article of the LA Times published in May 3, 2025. The Santa Cruz government added sugar tax 2 cents per ounce on the non-alcoholic beverage. And this policy also by taken in other California cities like the San Francisco and Berkeley, which shows that the sugar tax is not only be used in globally, but also be used in locally. So after talking about the larger scale perspective, I will move on to the personal scales, the personal solutions. So what can we do in our daily life? So I think we all realize that the sugar addiction is harmful. And in our daily life, we should firstly check the sugar content before we choose the item. Check their category of the products. And secondly, we should reduce to purchase those sugary products to care about our body. And we should also raise our awareness about those harmful products in the market. In conclusion, today I explain why the sugar addiction is harmful, because it will cause serious health problems. And I also explain why the sugar tax is important and necessary, because it can solve the health problems and it can also reformulate the products. And I also explain in 3 dimensions, which is the problems, the causes, and finally, I talk about the solution from larger scale and the personal scale. So I think that we all realize that sugar addiction is harmful, and we should take more care about our body and reduce consumption on sugary products. Thank you.